Okay, so if you're an iOS developer, you know there are tons of rules and best practices, right? But I'm telling you, there is one rule that towers over all of them. It's the single most fundamental thing you have to know to build a good app. Let's get into it.
And here it is. This is it. This isn't just a friendly suggestion, it's basically a commandment. If you're building for iOS, you have to live by this. It is the absolute bedrock of a stable, reliable user interface. So yeah, burn this into your brain. Every single UI update, every single time, has to happen on the main thread. No exceptions. All right, so the next logical question is why? I mean, why is this rule so strict, so non-negotiable? Well, the answer gets right to the heart of how Apple actually designed its entire UI framework.
It all boils down to this concept of thread safety. You see, Apple's UI framework, UIKit, was never built to be thread safe. And this wasn't an accident or some kind of oversight. It was a very deliberate design choice that has some massive implications for us as developers. Now, that term, thread unsafe, it sounds pretty bad, doesn't it? Like it's broken. But it's actually a feature, not a bug. See, UIKit was built on the assumption that only one thread, the main thread, will ever try to talk to it. This makes things way simpler and faster because it avoids all the performance costs of trying to manage access from a bunch of different threads at once.
So what happens if you break the rule? Oh, it's not good. You're basically inviting absolute chaos into your app. We're talking about those impossible to debug crashes, weird visual glitches where things on screen are just wrong, and just wildly unpredictable behavior that will make you and your users totally miserable. And look, breaking this rule isn't just some nerdy technical problem, it directly tanks the user experience. A great app needs to feel consistent and controlled, and that is precisely the job of the main thread. You know, you can think of the main thread as the master conductor of your app's orchestra. Seriously, it's in charge of everything that user sees and does. Every tap, every swipe, every slick animation, every single pixel that gets drawn on that screen, it's all managed by the main thread. It's the one and only source of truth for your UI. This slide just lays it out perfectly. Trying to update the UI from a background thread? That's like some random person in the orchestra trying to change the tempo on their own. It just creates conflicts and what we call race conditions. It's a mess. But when you route everything through the main thread, the conductor, you get consistency, perfect timing, and a beautifully smooth user experience. Okay, so we've hammered home the why. I think we get it. So let's get practical. How do we actually do this? How do we make sure our UI updates are always playing by the rules and happening safely? For years and years, this was the answer. DispatchQueue.main.async. If you're off doing some heavy lifting on a background thread, like, say, fetching data from the internet, you use this little block of code to jump right back onto the main thread before you dare touch a UI element. It's simple, it's reliable, and you will see it in pretty much any iOS codebase you look at. Now, with modern Swift concurrency, we've got an even slicker way to do it. The MainActor. By marking your code to run on the MainActor, the compiler itself helps you enforce the rule, which makes it even harder to mess up. So you see, the tools have gotten better, but that fundamental rule, it's exactly the same. All right, let's pull all this together. Following this rule isn't just about stopping crashes. It's about building a professional, high-quality app. Think of this as your final stability checklist. The payoff for getting this right is just massive. First, your app becomes way more stable because you've just wiped out an entire category of crashes. Second, it'll feel more responsive because the main thread isn't getting all confused and bogged down. And third, it'll be visually perfect, no weird glitches. That's the trifecta, right? That's what makes for a great user experience. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is a well-known truth in the iOS community. A huge number of those mysterious, I can't reproduce it bugs that drive developers nuts, they often track right back to a background thread touching the UI when it shouldn't have. If you master this rule, you master app stability. It's that simple. So I'm just going to leave you with this final thought. A 1-star review often complains about an app being buggy or always crashing. And a 5-star review, it praises an app for being smooth and reliable. When you really think about it, understanding and always respecting this one simple rule, well, that's very often the difference between the two.